Welcome to VeeBee Coding. You can call me Bee. Today's tutorial is going to be a part 2 from our last video where we created a trigger in SQL that tracked updates, inserts, and deletes to one of our tables. The information was saved within a audit table. And so the problem is if you have multiple columns, you might be scrolling a while going between all the old versus new values. And so our goal for today is to make a view to gather the data from the audit table and make it much more user-friendly, have one column for old values and one column for new values. You can find all of the coding in the tutorials on GitHub. Just search for my name, VeeBee Coding, go to Users, and inside my YouTube video files repository, you will find coding where the title matches the title of the YouTube tutorial videos. As a prerequisite for this video, you will need to have the tables and trigger created. You can go to GitHub to the trigger to track, update, insert, and delete code, and that will help you get up to speed on creating your buckets table, a separate bucket type table that can be used for making your foreign key, your audit table, and your trigger. A quick recap from what we did last time. When we talk about the audit table, this is a table that we made to mimic our original buckets table, but this is where we're going to note the old value, new value for all of your update, inserts, and deletes, plus a few extra columns such as your action column where you note if it's update, insert, delete, and your system date and system user. So as we create this view, it might be a little confusing as we go a bit back and forth as we make the building blocks. So on this one slide, I wanted to give the big idea, the general idea of what we're trying to do. So we're going to have our primary key, our action for the update, insert, delete note, note the date and time, one column for old values, one column for new values. And at the bottom, it shows you the join, how it understands what column from what record to pull from. And we also want to look at just what changed to help filter out extra noise. So for step 1, let's note all of the columns that we care to show in the view. This is good where in your audit table, you might be tracking all of the values within the original table, but for your view, you can already filter down to just what you care about. On step 2, we are going to take that same information and we are going to unpivot it. So this is where we are going to move the old values into one column. Now, if you stop here and do a select on the query you see here, you will get a failure because at this point you have multiple values that have different data types attempting to go to one column. And then SQL gets confused where it doesn't know how to treat the information. So to resolve that, you are going to surround the different columns with casts. So you're going to cast all those values as varchar. In my example, I'm using varchar 1000 because I believe I set my comment field to be 1000 characters for some reason. I'm not sure why I made it that large. So because that was the largest value, I chose, because it's largest value, I'm using that size as the baseline for everybody. So I'm using varchar for everybody. I also added is null. If there's any null values, it'll be replaced by a single space. And when you use cast, don't forget to use as to give those columns a new name. And these are the column names that you also see down here to the left for your unpivoting. So the previous slides were for the old values. So now we're going to repeat for the new values. And actually, you don't need to do the same steps. You can just copy what you did for the old values, paste it, do a find replace the word old with new, and you're pretty good. Step 5 is putting all of your building blocks together. And yeah, there isn't really too much going on here. You'll be done. We just use a case when to change our action code, the IUD to insert, update, delete. And also on a previous slide, we had created a column description. So that column description is what we're going to use to better join the old versus new subqueries. So this is where it looks a little bit complicated, but basically look at the column name old category. It's basically going to pull the word category to be the description. Likewise for old due date, it's going to take away the beginning part and just look at due date. Once you have your select all done and did a quick test to make sure it is displaying correctly, then you can officially make it view. All you do is type create view, give it a name. For views, I suggest giving it a prefix of VW underscore, and that helps it be more distinguishable among other tables and views, especially when doing information schema or querying off of information schema. Speaking of information schema, if you do want to view the coding behind your view, you can go to the views folder, goodness, under your database, and you will see it there. You can also do a select from information schema.tables, or you can do information schema.columns. Just search where the table name is like the column or view that you're looking for. And that information schema does allow you to query on table type, so you can see what's a table, what's a view, if you did not include that VW prefix. And if you want to edit your view in the future, just right click the view name, go to script view as, and you can click on alter to, and then the new query editor window to alter the view, or view the coding by clicking the create to. And with that, let's hop over to Management Studio. So at this point, you should have run the scripts from our trigger video, so you already have the tables in place, your base buckets table, your audit table, and your buckets table already has the trigger. So starting off for this video, just in case if you did not execute a update, insert, delete last time, we want to make sure we have information in our audit table for when we create our view. So I'm going to insert into buckets. You will see two indicators of rows affected. The first one is, this is one row affected in the buckets table. The second mentioning is for your audit table, so this is one row affected in our audit table, which was updated because of our trigger. So let's also do an update, same thing, and delete. Okay, so now let's review what is in our audit table. Here, I'll do this. Oh yeah, since I did everything today, everything will be captured. When I was preparing the notes on the tutorial, I was doing it on separate days. But anyway, So I can scroll down to the bottom. We have our I, meaning insert, U for update, D for delete. For this birdseed subcategory. Looks good. So now, let's keep on moving on. Let's actually get started on our view. So now step 1, we are going to gather the columns that we care to track in our view. And again, you don't have to do all of the columns if you don't want to. So let's know our old values. Select ID, action code, system date, old modified by this user, and just so it can start suggesting columns. Here we go. Got our system user, old category, subcategory, old comment, old amount, old due date, old timestamp. Here we go. Let's see. So if I hover over the red squiggle, it's saying invalid object name. That's because I just made everything right before this video. So here, actually, let's try closing out completely. And I'll just re-sign in. Oop. Get a fresh look. Yeah, still give me the red squiggle. It's okay. So here are all the columns that I care to note in my view. So now, step 2. I can actually keep expanding on this, but just for the sake of our notes, I'm going to keep things separate and copy over when we are ready. So for step 2, we want to unpivot those columns. So I'm going to copy this. And let's do select. Again, I'm going to replace the X later on. I'll say from the select that we did just right up above. I'm going to call it as S1, as, you know, select 1, whatever you prefer. So let's call the ID, action code, system date, old modified by sys user. And actually we need to unpivot it. So unpivot old value for old column in there. Now I'll fill it in just a moment, and I'll give an alias as unpivot. So SQL, unlike some other coding languages, SQL doesn't care if you're perfectly lining up parentheses. But I like to, just to make it easier to read. So I'm going to say old category, subcategory, old comments, old amount, old due date, and old timestamp. And then going back up here, now that we have our unpivot section, now I can say from unpivot old column, unpivot old value. So I'm going to run this select and it's going to fail. And that is because of the data type of all these columns. They don't agree with one another. So I'm going to trick it. I'll keep everything separate just for the sake of our notes. Step 3, we are going to use cast on this. So I'll keep the old version, make a new version. So now let's surround all of these under the from section, go to old category. Oh, goodness, I can't type. Is null. Actually, I'll do this cleaner. Let's do first cast old category as varchar 1000. I could stop there, but just to make sure everything looks extra clean, I can add a is null. If there is a null, replace it with a single space. And then because I use cast, I'm going to do, or give it an alias. Otherwise, it's not going to recognize this as the column name anymore. So we want to make sure it has a name. So I'm going to repeat it for all of these down below. Copy paste, copy paste. Do that. Or copy once, paste multiple times. There you go. As old subcategory. As old comment. As old amount. As old due date. As old timestamp. And so these are the column names that this is now referencing. It also helps if everything is just matching. You can see it flow better. So now that when we unpivot the values, everything's in one column, all of these are now going to be treated as the same data type. So now SQL won't get a tummy ache. I'm going to execute and see that I have an error. Incorrect year 71. Ah. I was missing a closing parentheses here. Do, 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 do. There we go. Yeah, so varchar has the opening and closing parentheses just on its own. I was missing the closing parentheses for the cast. And then this last parentheses was surrounding everything for the is null. So I just need the two parentheses there. There we go. Now we have all of our old values in one column. So instead of repeating all of these steps for the new values, we're just going to copy paste and replace. Yep, so for step 4, we want the new. So I'm going to copy our good select. Control F and do replace old underscore with new underscore replace. Double check. Oh yeah, we also want to replace the old here, which means you need to go back up here. It'll be new, new. Double check your work. Do our action. New modified by sys user. New column, new value. New everything. From, actually this will be our S2, our second select down below. Execute to make sure it works. There you go, we have all of our new values. So now we have our puzzle pieces ready. We can start putting it together. So start off, select. I'll replace the X later. Save from. I'm going to grab our old select. Actually, I also want to add in a quick comment. Completed old values select. And did I name the other one? Complete a new value select. Yes. So I'm highlighting the entire old value select that we finished. Going back to our new select we're working on. Paste. So now for all this. Yeah, don't forget to, or don't be shy about using tab. And if you tab too much, you can highlight and do shift tab to bring it back to the left. I like to do that to make it easier to see how things are broken up. So for this entire old value select, I'm going to give it an alias as OV for old value. And it'll be using a inner join on the new value select. So let's go back up to our new value. Select. Copy all of it. Go back down here. And then highlighting all of this and tabbing it over. Just make it easier to read. So that whole subquery, give an alias as NV for new value or new values. Here we go. And now I need to tell it how does the old values subquery link to the new value subquery. So I need to say on old value ID matches the new value ID. We need to, so that's our primary keys. Now we need to link, okay, which record in the audit table are we looking at? So look at the system date, the old versus new. But that's just a date. We need, what if there was a update and insert made at the exact same time? So we're going to say action code between the two are the same. And so what column in that one record are you trying to compare between the old and new? So this part is very Very handy. Column description. Was NV. Column description. And actually, did I add... I believe in my notes I had the column description. Yes, I forgot to add it while typing it out. So let's go back up to our old values. So right, unpivot, new column. -4. That's column description. So just to explain what's going on, because the column names can be different lengths, like subcategory is longer than category. Then you have, comment, due date. The lengths are all different. But I want to make sure I shave off the first few characters first in order to get the rest. So because we named everything old underscore new underscore, that's all 4 characters. OLD underscore NEW underscore 4 characters. So take the length of the entire name -4, that is the length of the actual column name itself. So now you can say, take the right of this field by X number of characters, and that's how you isolate just this name apart from everything. So now I'm going to copy that. Add it also to our new select. And I'm just adding it to these ones up here for our notes that get shared on GitHub later on. But I'm also doing it to everything down below so we don't get errors. And now it's happy. There we go. And I'm going to add in a where clause where old value does not match the new value. So now that we have all of this finished, we can go back up to our select and actually tell it what to pull from all of this. So I'll say old value ID as, I'm just giving it a alias, a name, buckets ID. So now whoever is looking at this information, they may not know what IUD stands for in your action code. So now we're going to use a case statement. So where the action code is I, then say insert. When action code is U, then that means update. And when action code is D, then delete. So it kind of helps translate SQLese to, business folks who do not work on the database side. So that's our action code. So we're going to grab the new modified by as modified by new values system user as, and actually typing out the words system user, make it more user friendly. Column description as description from the old value. Select, get in the old value, and I'll call it the from. And then from our new value, select call that the to value. The point of this being we wanted to make it user-friendly to whoever is looking at this information. There we go. And let's test it out. Keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Invalid column name. Ah. The joys of copy-paste. From our old subquery, I was saying new. There we go. So we have our primary key. We know if it's a update, insert, or delete. We have the modify by, which is whatever we entered when executing our scripts. But you'll see we have our system user, whoever was logged in and actually executed the update, insert, delete. So if somebody tries to be sneaky and say someone else did it, no, the system user will capture that. We have our description. Notice how it no longer says old underscore or new underscore yada yada. It's just, it is what it is. We have our from value, our to value, and the date that the action was done. And just so I don't forget before going to GitHub, I'm going to go back up to our old select, fix this. And now you guys will be good to go when you copy this later. So with our select looking good, we can finish creating our view. So I'll say create view. That DBO is just our schema. I'm gonna start off with VW to stand for view. Buckets, audit. So I'm naming it after the one specific table that this is being built for. So highlight from create view all the way down. Command's completed successfully. So in your database, you can expand on views and you see it right there. If you did not see it, then you can just click on this refresh and you can expand it again. If you later on want to view the coding, edit the coding, right click and go to edit scripts as, create to, new query editor window. And now here's your entire script. If you want to edit it, you can do the same thing. You can do alter. And the window looks the same. You'll just see the word alter instead of create. If you already had the create window open and you wanted to alter, no, you can just change that word to alter. Do your changes, highlight everything, and execute, and you'd be fine. So now, if myself or anybody else in the future wants to use our view, all they have to do is do select star whatever from VW buckets audit. And there you go. So a view is just a saved select in your database. So that way you don't need to save a file on your computer, possibly lose it, If other people want to use this too, you don't need to, share that file to somebody else. All they need is that view name and the permissions, and they'll be all good. Hi! Thank you so much for watching. If you found my videos to be helpful and wish to buy me a coffee as a thank you, consider stopping by Ko-fi to leave a tip. If you have a scenario in mind that you would like to suggest, you can share with me those ideas at askvbcoding@gmail.com, and I'll consider them for future videos. Thank you so much. Bye-bye!